welcome back to the channel, and if you're new, it's an absolute pleasure to meet you. I'm Jane and my husband Mike is behind the camera. We're British, early retirees, we have no debt, we've paid off the mortgage, and we live a thrifty, frugal and money-saving life here in Brittany in northwest France. And every Sunday we share with you an aspect of our private life. And this Sunday is all about sharing with you about who is and who isn't coping with the cost of living crisis, and how we are riding out this seemingly endless storm of high prices because they just don't seem to be going away. Now, I'm not talking about France, I'm not talking about the UK, I'm not talking about Europe in general, I'm not talking about any one specific country, but we can pretty much say the entire world is at the mercy of increased prices for absolutely everything. It is the tiniest minority who are not suffering in some way or another. The biggest problem that people are facing everywhere in Europe, everywhere in Australia and New Zealand, everywhere in all of Central America, all of Northern America, just about everywhere I can possibly think of, is the cost of housing. And Mike and I are reflecting as Gen Xers that we're probably the very last generation ever who had affordable houses for 2 years when we were first together. We got together in 1996 and we bought a house for 30 grand, Mike?
34,000.
About 34,000. Yeah. And with the deposit that we put down, we could buy that as 3 times Mike's single income as a shop worker. So that's what he did then. He worked as an assistant manager in a hi-fi store and earned 10,000 a year. And we are the last people to do that because in 2 years when we sold our house doubled in value. And we didn't buy anything any bigger or any better. We just bought in a different street. And that was it. House doubled. And then for year on year with those house prices, the prices just became ridiculous, to the point now that in some countries people are having to buy 10 to 15 times their income over 30 years to afford a house. It's crazy. So we're going to acknowledge, first of all, that we are the lucky few. We're the last generation who could possibly do this. And everybody else is really struggling. So if house prices are extraordinarily high, rents are off the scale, and every other part of normal family life that those of us in years gone by took for granted have just gone. They've just gone. I don't think we will ever see them again. Affordable housing? Gone. Affordable healthcare? Gone. Affordable childcare? Gone. It's all gone. A car that people can afford. Car insurance that people can afford. Everything of that now is an absolute push. Now let's go on to talk now about the people who are being the hardest hit. Now let's talk now about the people who really are struggling at the moment, who really are not coping. Let's talk about the people who are carrying a ton of debt around at the moment. People don't borrow money in hard times when they're short of money. They don't borrow money when they are jobless. They borrow money when they do have a job, when the income that they have is good, when both people are working. That's when they borrow money. They borrow that money to maybe buy furniture. They borrow that money to buy a car. They borrow that money to, I don't know, in some countries put their children through college. They borrow the money instead of the children borrowing the money. So there's many reasons that people do borrow money. And then economic times like now hits, and they are in a debt cycle that they can't get themselves out of. And they can't get it out of because their rent's gone up, their insurance has gone up, food has gone up. I worked it out the other day that from when we moved here in 2018 to now, every single item of food that I could buy, and toiletries, cleaning products, everything, has doubled in that period of time. And some of those doubling of prices have happened since 2020. Yeah, since 2020. So in that last 4 years, it's doubled since then. So, and then the people who really come unstuck and find things extraordinarily difficult, is they haven't had a pay rise in years. They're trying to get other work, but they've already got children. They can't afford any more childcare. One of them's working night shifts, one of them's working day shifts. And Mike and I know this because when we were first together, he used to work in the day, nighttime, looked after the children, and I worked. I used to work night shifts in care work. So we know what that already feels like to get round childcare. And then there's the fact that there's never any money for people to do anything to their houses. So if they own their own house, their mortgage is killing them, their bills are killing them, the food prices have gone up, their childcare costs have gone up. And then the shower doesn't work, or the water heating doesn't work, or something goes wrong with their car. Then that's when they really do face an absolute brick wall. And I'm in several money saving Facebook groups, and it's always when people hit that economic wall. There is no more money they can borrow. There is no more money that they can earn. They're both working. One lady was telling me her husband was working like 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, not me personally, everybody. But they couldn't fit in any more work. He had to sleep. He couldn't go through sleep deprivation. He couldn't do any more. They had children. If she'd have worked, then they'd had to pay for childcare. They wouldn't have been a lot better off. So their circumstances, people are hitting economic brick walls. So yeah, we want to acknowledge the fact that there are people out there who, yes, they might have borrowed money, but what do they borrow money for sometimes? It could be a vehicle. It could be something for their house. It could be frippery, but we don't know that, and we have to take people at face value. And whatever the reason, that is their here and now. So I want to acknowledge the fact that there are people out there at the moment who are desperately struggling because of debt, and then higher prices hit, and then they hit an economic brick wall. So now I'm going to share with you how we are getting through this and how we are making it. And first of all, we want to share with you that it's not easy, it's not pleasant, and we don't always like it. We're very pragmatic. It is what it is. I cannot get any insurance cheaper than the cheaper insurance. I cannot get healthcare any cheaper than the cheapest healthcare. I can't get food any cheaper than the cheapest food. And I promise you, we shop around, we shop the deals. But you can't go any cheaper than the cheapest. So that's my first point. Second thing I want to go into and share with you are all the things that we do not buy and do not do. I also want to share with you that economically, we've never done a lot of these things. Even when, I had colleagues with the same salary as me, and I saw colleagues going on more regular holidays. I saw colleagues eating takeout or discussing the fact that they'd had a great takeout, or that they went out for a quick cheap meal in the middle of the week, and they went out for a nice meal at the weekend, and they had weekends away, and they went to stay somewhere nice, or they went on a trip, or they went to the theatre, and they did all these things. We didn't do that. And we didn't do that when we had the money, because we realised that we were not millionaires. We were not wealthy, and that we would have taken the income that we had, which was just comfortable, and would have put ourselves in an uncomfortable position if we had done that. So listing the things that we've never had. We've never had TV that you've paid for. So we never had what was in the UK called Sky TV. Now and then we didn't have anything paid for. So we don't have Netflix. We don't have Disney. We don't have Paramount. We don't have Amazon Prime. We don't pay for any of that. We have the cheapest TV package that comes from our French TV provider called Orange, who supply our telephone, our internet and our TV, and we've got it as cheap as possible. And you can't get any cheaper than the cheapest. So we don't eat out. We don't eat out. People think, well, you live in France, why don't you eat out? Because we're not millionaires. Because we live on a budget. And we didn't eat out when we lived in the UK because we were not millionaires. We did not have spare money. If we had money, it needed to be saved. So all the things that we don't do now, like we don't buy coffee, we don't go out for coffee, we don't eat out, we don't have TV subscriptions, we don't have any entertainment. We're not members of a sports club or a gym or anything like that. because we're not millionaires. We do not have that kind of money. We are really, really, really realistic about that. And we know that so many people do drink coffees, do have meals out, do have subscriptions. And we know that because we don't have any of those things, we've worked it out over the years, it can amount to more than 1,000, a couple of thousand. I believe in some cultures and some countries, people eat out every week, if not several times a week, and order food. We don't do that. It's one of the ways we're getting through this cost of living crisis, is we're same old, carrying on, keeping calm and carrying on with our thrifty and frugal ways. And that's just the first one. There are so many things that other people buy or do or have that we don't do. Let's share with you now about our self-disciplined ways that we stick to our budget. We budget for absolutely everything. Absolutely everything. If there's anything we want or need, it's got a budget line. If it's birthday gifts, Christmas gifts, our clothing, anything for the house, anything for the car, anything for the garden, car service, car tyres, haircuts, get my eyebrows waxed, clothing, it's on the budget and we stick to it. There isn't any more money. I know people ask me this all the time and I just like, well, where do you think the money's coming from? And they ask me this question, what do you do if you go over budget? It's like, who do you think's giving me money? Who? Do you think I've got a little stash in the garden, where the fairies leave me money? Little pixies and leprechauns magic up this pot of money for me. It doesn't happen. It's something that we've always done. We've lived off a written budget. We've budgeted for absolutely everything. On a good month, after all our bills are paid, after all the money is set aside for all the things that we have to pay for, short term or long term, we have about, after we've paid food, we have about 150 euros that touches our hands that we can spend on, whatever we want. And this month, we've spent some of that on door trim for our house because we're going through things called snagging of trying to get things done in our house before the end of the year to give us that kind of feeling of closure of little jobs that we've needed to do to get this done. So we've always done that, stuck to a budget. Let me share with you, for example, clothing budget. We have 300 euros a year each for clothing, and clothing is expensive. Last year, so 2023, I remember when we went to the UK, we bought ourselves like loads of socks, loads of underwear, pyjamas, dressing gowns, slippers. By the time we bought all of that, gone into good quality stores like Marks and Spencer's and bought stuff that we knew would last, that was best part of £200 each, which is about 220 euros. And then you only have to go out, for me to go out and buy 2 bras, 100 euros, 50 euros for a bra. So although we say this, it's like, what do? We make what we've got last. I'll share this with you. This is an open place. I'll share with you. I always wash my underwear on a delicate wash. Wait till it's all there for the end of the week. My underwear, my pyjamas, things like that. So it lasts. It all gets washed on a delicate wash, so it lasts longer. And it all gets hung up to dry and never ever dried in a tumble dryer to make everything last. So I can get a good 5 years wear out of underwear, or 5 years wear out of pyjamas, or even 10 years wear out of a dressing gown. So there's an example of absolutely sticking to our budget because there isn't any more money. Let's talk about food. Everything from the supermarket, or food, or drink, or toiletries, or cleaning products, or bathroom products, toiletries, everything, laundry products. And that we spend 300 euros a month on. And then we have pet food that we've brought that down to about 30 euros a month for pet food. And let me tell you, because I've shared this with you all the time, the biggest money saver that we have is that we cook and eat food from our own house. But even that is difficult. It is an absolute challenge, and I completely accept that not everybody can do what I do. My phone is recording me now, so that's my phone watching you, but that phone is an absolute, it's so important to me. It's got all my supermarket apps on it, and I check those supermarket apps every single week. I have got emails set up and email notifications from all the supermarkets, because sometimes they don't put on the app, but they'll email me the offers and the deals. Sometimes I follow all of their Facebook groups, because here in France, each supermarket is a franchise. So each supermarket will put out its own deals on top of the national deals. And I wait to see what's on offer. So consequently, I don't pay full price for meat or fish. I go on a Saturday, I go a couple of times a month, and I will go to big shops like Carrefour, and I will see if I can get the meat for 30% off. It's already cheap, I get it 30% off. I can sometimes get it 50% off. I go to Grand Frais and get their fish 50% off on a Saturday morning. I then scrutinise all the deals. I do a small shop for fruit and vegetables at the beginning of the month, a big one in the middle when I get 20% off from one supermarket. I wait until there's an offer on coffee, then I stock up 34% off, same with pet food, same with cleaning products. I wait and wait, and then I'll get enough to see me through. So I've always got a really good pantry, a freezer full, cupboards full, tons of toilet rolls. I use all the cash backs. So that 34% off that you see there comes as cash back on my card. So I can build up a credit on my store loyalty card. And when I've built up about 100 euros on it, I then go and do a mega shop of all the things that I need, toilet rolls and anything else that I absolutely need to get. So I accept, and with food, I've meal planned for 28 years. I've batch cooked for all of that time. I cook once, we eat twice. Everything's homemade. You know, for food wise, nothing has changed. Don't eat as much fresh fruit as we used to do, because it is really, really expensive. But we still eat the fresh vegetables that we've always eaten. We still eat enough proteins. We're doing okay, but I will accept, hands up, not everybody can do what I do. Not all of you watching are tech savvy. A lot of you even struggle when I say to you it's in the description box below, and you struggle to find that. And some of you say you struggle to use your phone or struggle to use apps, and you find it difficult. You've got to be really on it with the supermarket app. Sometimes you've got to go into the app. Sometimes that you've got to go and then find the deals. You've then got to go and tick the deals. You've got to make sure you scan your phone as you go out. It's not easy, but I am prepared, and I've always been prepared to jump through whatever hoops it took me to make sure that our family, which is small now, it's only Mike and I, but our family eats well and stays within our budget. Let's talk household bills and everything that we do, and we have always done, to make sure that our household bills are as low as possible. We only have one water supplier here, but what we do is we make sure that we use as little water as possible. I don't run the washing machine every day. I make sure I've got a complete load to do. I make sure that, you know, not only the washing machine is full, but the clothes are actually dirty, that they actually need washing. I make sure that in the summertime with water bills, that the washing up water or the shower water, we stand in a tub when you have a shower, then tip it in a watering can, and I use that for watering the garden, for our pot plants and our flowers around the garden. So we keep our water bills low by keeping our consumption low. We keep our energy bills low by keeping our consumption low. We try as much as possible to use small devices. So I use my air fryer, not my oven. I use my wood burning cooking oven, not my electric oven or even my air fryer throughout the winter cold months. I make sure that I use my washing machine at night time when the electricity is cheaper. the same with our dishwasher, the same with our 300-litre water tank. All of that is run at night time, all automatically switches on. We make sure that every single light in the house is LED. Even that, we make sure if we're not in a room, the only room that we've got a light on is the room that we are in. Now that's the same with heating. Although we have a wood stove, we do have gas heaters in our offices and in my sewing room. And we make sure if we're not in there and it's not, or we don't need it, that we do not leave them on. When it comes to insurances, we have our health insurance, our car insurance, and our home insurance, home and contents house insurance. We make sure every single year we are getting the best deal. When the renewals are coming up, we make sure that we use all the price comparison websites and we look through the small print. Our insurance might look a bit high compared to other people, but we look at what is covered completely in that price. So we've talked about energy, we've talked about water, we've talked about our bills. We do whatever we can to keep our consumption as low as possible. Even to the fact that we have short showers, very, very short showers. Don't leave the shower running, get in, get wet, get soaked and get out. Just don't waste anything at all. And you know, even like I see people washing up and they leave the hot tap running, put it in a bowl, wash up in a bowl, then tip it out and then fill the bowl up with another bowl of clean water and then rinse things. Running the hot tap, I cannot imagine doing that, just leaving the hot tap running to wash up. That will use more water than a dishwasher. And we've got very economical machinery. So we've got like AAA rated dishwasher, AAA rated fridge freezer, AAA rated washing machine, purposely paying for things that were a bit more in the first place to make sure that they were completely energy and money saving. Now let's talk about something else that for 28 years has kept us solvent, has put money in the bank and kept us going. And now when we come to a cost of living crisis, means that we're okay. We don't have any bad habits to break, is that we are not spenders. I don't like spending money. I don't like going shopping. I don't want to waste money. Mike doesn't either. We don't know the Amazon man. We don't sit there scrolling through websites looking at things that we could buy or would buy, or we don't peruse charity shops for the sake of should we pop out, or yard sales or car boot sales or anything like that, because as they say, one man's junk can then come home and become your junk. So we just don't do that. We've honed those skills over the years of buying what we need or something that we really, really want. Really, really, really want. Those of you know that I sew, I'm a quilter. I've had the same sewing machine since 2012. So when I came to buy my long arm sewing machine, and spent €5,500 on it, I could have been that person who'd have upgraded my sewing machine every few years, and a sewing machine costs £2,000 to £5,000 in themselves, a really good sewing machine. But I didn't. Mike services it for me, he looks after it for me. I treat my own sewing machine, my Elna Quilting Queen, I treat it like it's it's my most special toy, and I look after it. And now I have my handy quilter Moxie. Again, it's nurtured, it's really, really looked after, and it will be the only long arm machine I ever have or need. We're like that with equipment in our house, whether it's computer equipment or it's phones that we film us with or anything that we need for our house. We've got to really, really want it or really, really need it or really, really like it before we'll spend money on it. And we're prepared to save up for it and wait for it. And we don't have those drips of money. We don't have those drips of money. You know what? Like I said, we're not going for meals. We're not going for coffee. We're not ordering bits and bobs off Amazon. As you can see by my gorgeous face, I absolutely have zero makeup on it. I pay for a haircut once a year, and I pay somebody to come along and wax my face because nobody wants to see a woman with a beard. I don't care if it's trendy. I don't want a beard. So there we go. The spending bit is the easy bit for us. So all of those people out there, I feel for you if you've had to give up spending or give up anything. We haven't had to give up anything because we didn't do it in the first place. Handing it back to you. I know some of you out there are having it incredibly difficult. That you're going through job losses. You've had a medical emergency and you're still paying for that medical bill 5 years later. You had you bought a house and something massive went wrong with it. You're still paying for it. It's rough out there. I get it. I understand it. Some of you went to university with all intents and purposes of using that degree that you've got, and then there was nothing in the job market for you when you come out of there, and you ended up doing something that didn't require a university degree, but you're still paying for it. I get it. I get it. It's rough out there for so many of you, and I know millions of you across the world are facing the fact that your rent, just your rent, is leaving you broke, to the point that your rent is so high you will never, ever, ever save the deposit for a house. So I get it. I also get that some of you out there are, in spite of all those struggles, working your way through this. Share with me, what's rough for you? How are you doing? How are you getting through it? How are you affording the bills, the supermarket, your healthcare? How are you doing? How are you affording your premiums? How are you affording your out of pay costs that some of you have for healthcare too? How are you managing? I hope you're okay. You all matter. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.